Calling all authors, the Your Book, Your Voice podcast with host Robert A. Lane features everything you need to know about narrating your audiobook. But it doesn't stop there. We have special guests lined up from all aspects of the book publishing industry, and we also dive deep into what it takes to be mentally prepared for success as an author and in life. So please welcome your host, Robert A. Lane.
Hey, my friends, how are you today? This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. I am an audiobook coach and producer. You can check out what I do at robertlanecoaching.com. This is your first time tuning in. Basically, what I do as an audiobook coach and producer is specialize in helping nonfiction authors create, narrate, and publish their own audiobook. And when I say narrate, I'm talking about you as the author narrating your own audiobook. Because again, all nonfiction authors need to narrate their own audiobook. It's your story. Nobody can replicate you. Nobody can tell your story the way you can. And that's why you should be narrating your own audiobook. So I have an audiobook coaching program, which is called Your Book, Your Voice. And it is a 6-week program where I help you set up your own recording space, teach you the fine art of voiceover and narration, how to be compelling and engaging, and how to record and narrate an awesome audiobook. And then the second part of it really is the post-production aspect of it. Because once you record your audiobook, your audio files are going to need to be edited so that they are clean and they sound great. But most importantly, they need to meet the exact specifications for publication. Because what we do here for the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program is get you published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books. I call it the AAA, Audible, Amazon, Apple. You need to be on those 3 distribution platforms because the general public mainly goes to those 3. And the other thing is that people ask for audiobooks by brand name. So are you on Audible? Are you? Can I get your book on your audiobook on Amazon? Can I grab it off of Apple Books? As opposed to people just saying, do you have an audiobook available? So more and more people are now asking for audiobooks by brand name, which is important, which is why you really need to be on those audiobook platforms. So that's what I do as an audiobook coach and producer. So help you get set up, do all your audiobook editing, do all the uploading for you for publication, and by the end of the 6-week program, your audiobook will be up and uploaded for publication, which is pretty awesome. Not 6 months, not 6 years, 6 weeks. All right, so today's topic for the Your Book, Your Voice podcast is investing in your author brand. Very important when it comes to you as a nonfiction author. Maybe you have a published book that's already out there. Maybe you have several books that are out there. Or maybe you are in the process of writing your first nonfiction book, which is awesome. So you are already in the throes of creating something terrific. So there is one question that I want to ask you and give this some serious thought. How do you look at yourself as an author? Do you consider yourself a professional or a hobbyist? Do you look at yourself as an author, as your author brand, as something that you do on a professional level, maybe something that you strive to make a career out of, or maybe you already are making money as a writer and as an author, which is fantastic, or maybe you just write for fun. Maybe you write, blogs or just short stories or poetry, or maybe you are writing a book, but it's really just for friends and family, and it's just something that you're passionate about. How do you look at your business? Do you look at your authorship, your author brand as a business or as a hobbyist? Now, I understand that maybe you aren't a writer full-time, and maybe you have a full-time job. Maybe writing is your side hustle. It's your side business, which is totally cool. I've done a lot of side hustles when I was working full-time in the entertainment business. I've worked 30 plus years in the business. The last roughly 14 years of that was working at 20th Century Fox Studios in Los Angeles on the studio lot. Pretty intense job. It was a corporate job, still in production, being a project manager for their feature film division. But I get it. When you're working full time, it's not your 9 to 5 grind. Usually at the studio it was definitely more hours than that, and there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of deadlines you have to hit, and so there's a lot of stress with that job. And you know what? It's not just the entertainment business. It's with any full-time job, corporate job, retail job, doesn't matter. There are a lot of stresses and it does take up a lot of time. So maybe you being an author and you're working on your book, or maybe you're working on your next book, you still have a full-time job. You can balance the two. And if you are doing that, then, all power to you for doing that, because it can be daunting. But when you're able to manage your time, then you can invest in your author brand, which is what you should do. So defining yourself as an author is important. How do you define yourself? Are you considering yourself, again, a professional or hobbyist? Now, my feeling is those of you who have written a book and you have a book that's out there and you've published it, and hopefully you have an audiobook that you narrated yourself, or if you haven't, you definitely need to do so, and I can help you with that. I consider you a professional because you are a creative. Writing is a creative gift, just like an artist, a painter, or a musician, or a poet even, as a writer. And even just to be able to sit and write a book, it is a gift, and it is a talent that you should definitely take seriously. And I consider any author who's dedicated themselves to writing and publishing a book that has their book out there in the world, and an audiobook that's out there in the world for people to not only read your book, but also to listen. You are a professional. So your author brand is pro as far as I'm concerned. And that's how I look at it. And that's how I consider any author that I've worked with that's gone through my audiobook coaching program. You are a professional, all right? You are a professional. So I also hear a lot from people who they're like, doing an audiobook, for example, just takes up so much time. Or maybe even writing your book. It's like, it is so daunting. I've been working on my book for years. And it really does come down to time management as being able to do the things that you want to do. Now, investing in your author brand means embracing the fact that you are a professional author. Now, if you are a hobbyist and you just do it for fun, that's totally cool. Nothing wrong with that. I think it's awesome that you're doing something that brings you a lot of joy and that you're passionate about. But if you want to consider yourself an author brand, you need to consider yourself professional. As a professional, this is your business. Okay, your author brand is your business. Your product is your book. Your product is your audiobook. So no matter what format your book is in, whether it's ebook or paperback, hardcover, audiobook, you have all these varieties of formats that you're presenting to the world. Those are your products. That's your author brand. Your author brand is you. So when you invest in your author brand, you are investing in yourself. And the first and crucial part of this is embracing your business, embracing your professionalism as an author. Okay, that's what makes you you. And when you embrace yourself as an author, your author brand includes everything about you. It includes who you are, what your belief systems are, your morals, your values, everything that encompasses you, everything that makes you you is part of your author brand, because that is what makes your unique style. That is what attracts those people who love reading your book and who love hearing your audiobook. If you have one, hopefully you do. Again, it has to be in your own voice, because the nonfiction author needs to narrate their own audiobook. Yes, I will stress that a lot because I'm a firm believer in that. Again, nobody can replicate you. Remember that, okay? But this is what you're all about. And this is what attracts people to you as an author. Like some people love Stephen King. They love his style of writing. They love, that whole genre. But maybe there are people who don't like Stephen King. Maybe there's another horror writer or writer in that genre that they favor. But you know what? It all depends, and it all comes down to what their author brand is. Stephen King is his author brand. He has a certain style and attracts a certain audience to what he does. Maybe there's another author, again, who has a different approach, but is more resonating to other people as opposed to maybe Stephen King. So, looking at it that way, that's part of what your author brand is. It is you. So you invest in yourself, and you invest in believing and appreciating and embracing yourself as a professional. Because like my catchphrase I say all the time, you are the CEO of you. You're the boss. You're a business. Embrace your author business. Your brand is your business. Embrace it and love it and appreciate it. And that's what makes you you. And so I do consider any author who has written and published a book, you've got a great nonfiction book out there, you're a professional. I look at you as a professional, hands down. All right. Now, I did mention something about time. Time management is very important. And I just want to share with you just a couple of experiences that I've had while working at Fox Studios. Again, full-time job, not your typical 9 to 5, usually a lot longer when I was working in the business, but I still found the time to do things that I was passionate about and that I considered myself still as a professional. One of them as an audio editor, because I've done audio editing for 20 plus years. And while I was working at Fox Studios, I still was doing my audio editing, helping other creatives with their films, with their features, with their industrial videos for companies. Whatever it was, loved doing the audio post-production for it. Yet I still found the time to do that, even with a full-time job. Another example is I wanted to write, direct, and produce a film. So I did. I created a short film. It was about 25 minutes long. That's still pretty short, I guess. Not a feature. But I still found the time to do it because I took the job seriously and I considered myself as a professional, as you would as an author. And at that time, when I was working on doing my film, you map it out, right? Pre-production, the actual production, post-production, when it was going to be premiered, and you had a timeline that was laid out, and you had deadlines on that timeline to be able to reach the goal that I'd set for myself. Similar thing that you do as an author when you're writing your book. You map it out. You plan, this is the time that I need to write my first draft. Now, once it's all done and I'm confident with what I've written with my manuscript, then I send it off to an editor, and then it goes to the formatter and the cover designer and then all proofreader and all those people that help you create the awesome book that you have created, right? You go through the process, but you still find the time to do it. So even with working crazy hours, I still was able to meet the deadline and get this film produced. There is another example I want to share with you as well, just to hit home about how investing in your author brand and being a professional, you still can do it, even if you feel like you don't have enough time, because you do. We're going to talk a little bit more about time management when we come back. You're listening to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. So much more I want to share with you. Our topic again is investing in your author brand. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense Radio Show with host Dr. Broderick. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave Media Network and TuneIn Radio. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
And welcome back to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane. I'm an audiobook coach and producer. I have a business called Robert Lane Coaching. You can find out more information about what I do as an audiobook coach and producer at robertlanecoaching.com. Our topic today is investing in your author brand. But one thing I want to do before we continue on is I want to give you a freebie. And I have an audiobook narration reference guide that you can download for free, which is a great little guide that gives you some awesome pointers about how to do a great audiobook narration, both from a practical standpoint, like mic placement and that kind of thing, to the intangibles of how to do a compelling and engaging audiobook narration, bringing the energy and emotion and how to get that out of your system, right? Turning the written word, which is already in your unique voice, bringing it out through your audible voice, right? So grab this narration guide, okay? We have a graphic on the screen for those of you who are checking out the podcast and watching the video portion of it. For those of you who are hearing the audio only, the link is bit.ly/narration reference guide. So again, that's bit.ly/narration reference guide. So pick up that guide, all right? It's free to you. And it's my gift for you just for tuning in. Now, I did mention that I am an audiobook coach and producer. That's what I do. I have an audiobook coaching program called Your Book, Your Voice. If you are a nonfiction author, you have a published book, and it is not in audiobook form, you need to narrate your own audiobook. And if you'd like to schedule a free audiobook consultation with me, I'd love to talk with you, find out more about your book, what your marketing goals are, if we resonate, right? I want to work with you. You want to work with me. I'll get you enrolled in the program. And by the end of the 6-week program, you will have recorded, narrated, and have your book published to Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books by the end of the 6-week program. So schedule your call with me. It's free. And you will talk with me directly, okay? I talk to every client, every potential client I talk to before I enroll anybody, okay? Because, we're working together. It's a personal relationship, and business relationships are very important. So I don't believe in having those long, landing pages where you scroll forever, like you're reading an edition of War and Peace to get to the very bottom and just put your credit card information without talking to a real human being. So book your call. I would love to speak with you. Again, we have another graphic, and I'll give you the address as well. It's bit.ly again, bit.ly/audiobook onboarding to schedule your call. That goes directly to my calendar link, bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. All right. Love to speak with you and help you with your audiobook. Now, we're talking about investing in your author brand. And I was just giving you an example. I have a couple examples that I was sharing about even with a full-time job that really takes up a ton of your time. You still can get your book written. You still can get your audiobook narrated in a timely fashion, even with having a full-time job. It's just time management. The other example that I wanted to share with you, as a musician, I've been doing music for many, many years. I've had a couple of bands, and while I was working at Fox Studios, I released a couple of albums. When I did my first album, again, you find the time, you schedule the time to get it done. And I recorded and released an album. It did actually really well in Europe. It was embraced by the prog rock community, which I kind of scratched my head on that one. It wasn't really a prog rock album, but hey, that's fine. But it did really well. And then again, I released a second album a couple of years later, still with my job at Fox Studios. So working, between 40 to 60 hours a week. And again, being able to manage my time to do something that I love doing and I was passionate and I considered very professional. Oh, by the way, the band is called Lane's Lair if you wanted to look it up. So there you go. Free plug. But anyway, the point is, whether you have a full-time job or not, investing in your author brand means embracing yourself as a professional, okay? Even if it's a side hustle, it's still a profession, okay? As a writer, you're a professional. As an audiobook narrator for your own book, you are a professional. Even if you've never narrated before, you still can do it, which is why I do what I do as an audiobook coach and producer. The one thing that I really want to hit home is this: professionalism, 100%. Okay. You are an author brand. Your brand is your business. This is a professional business. Consider yourself a professional. Remember, change that mindset, right? You want to think of yourself as a professional. All right. This is your business. You are the CEO of you. The buck stops with you. Okay. The decisions that you make for your author brand, for your business, stops with you. You are the one who calls the shots. And by creating your product, which is your ebook, paperback, hardcover, audiobook, by creating these products for your author brand, you need to be pro all the way across the board. And you know what? Whether you do consider yourself a professional or maybe you are a hobbyist, maybe you just do it for fun, which is great. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's awesome. I'm glad you do it, because we all should have some hobbies that we're passionate about. But you always do your best work. Always. I've said this before on previous podcasts, and that is, you do not cut corners, ever. You do the best that you can possibly do, even at your job. Maybe it's you work at a place and maybe it just feels mundane or monotonous. But you know what? Do your best. Do the best job that you can. And maybe you get recognition and maybe you don't. But you know what? You can pat yourself on the back knowing that you did the best job that you can. And that's all that matters. All right. Same thing with you writing your book. You do the best that you can. You don't cut corners. So investing in your author brand means this: if you're writing your book, get a team together to help you write your book. All right. Hire a book coach. When I wrote my book, I got my book here. My book's called Lights Action You. When I wrote this book, I wanted to present this book in a professional way. And I hired a book coach. I had a great book coach. And because of that book coach, it helped me really refine my writing style and how to really formulate and lay out the book in a logical fashion that makes sense. And my coach kept me accountable. My coach was my support system and helped me create a great book. I'm proud of the book, just like you should be proud of your book that you've written. And you don't cut corners. All right. And through having a great book coach, he got me in touch with a great editor, a great formatter. All right. So I hired awesome people who were part of my team to have a book that was professionally done. You you go pro all the way. Again, it doesn't matter whether you're a hobbyist or a professional. I don't care how you consider yourself, though I do consider you as a professional. I just do, because you've written and published your nonfiction book. You're a pro. All right. So again, you don't cut corners, and you go through the proper channels, and you hire the right people to be part of your team. Cover design, of course, you got to hire a great cover designer. Now, when I did my book, through the process, I did work with a cover designer that I probably won't work with again, just because their turnaround times and the response times to questions that I've had during the cover creation process was a bit lagging, and I had deadlines I needed to hit, and it got really down to the wire. And I don't want to be um, under that kind of pressure. So I also know other great cover designers for books, and I'll probably go with somebody else when I write my next book. But again, it's all about experience, and you learn as you go. And when you write your next book, you're more grounded and focused, and you know what you need to do to create even a better product. Because the goal is, when you're investing in your author brand, the goal is you have a book, right? Here is your book, and then whether you self-publish or whether you got a publishing deal with a traditional publisher, this is your book. Here's a self-publishing book. Here is a book that was published by a traditional publisher. You put them side by side, and you know what? You should not be able to tell which is which, because that's how professional your self-published book looks. All right? You can compare it side by side. No one's going to know unless you say, yeah, I'm with such and such publishing company. Or, no, I self-published. So, I self-published my book, which is fine. Now, of course, there's benefits with having a traditional publisher, mainly for distribution purposes. But I love self-publishing because I retain all the rights to my book, all the royalties I keep for myself, all the blood, sweat, and tears, and all the investment that I put in my author brand. I'm reaping the benefits. All right. I'm not, having to shell out money, and I own my book 100%. All right. When you're with a traditional publisher, just like, with a record company, right? You sign in, I got a record deal. That's great. But you know what? Now they own you, and they can drop you if they feel that you're not making them enough money. That's a whole other concept. Maybe that's what I'll write my other book about, is the music industry. That's a whole other deal. But the point is, you're in control when you self-publish, and I think that's really a great thing. All right. So again, investing in your author brand, you've got to go through the proper channels of getting a great team of people to help you create a fantastic product. Same thing when recording your audiobook. When you're doing an audiobook, you have to make sure that you are sounding great, that you have the right equipment, and that you have the guidance, and you have, again, the support system and someone to keep you on track. You have an accountability partner. That's what's so great about having a coach. When you have a book coach, they keep you accountable, and they provide all this great support. When you have an audiobook coach, same thing. They're there to help you every step of the way. And again, as I say, all nonfiction authors need to narrate your own audiobook, because it's your story. You wrote this great story. Maybe you had a traumatic experience growing up, and you're writing a story about it because you want to share your experience with the world, because it's that important to you, right? That's tapping into your core reason, right? That's tapping into your purpose of why you wrote the book. And you're always tapped into that when you're writing. Now, when you're recording your audiobook, same thing. You are all tapped in to your purpose, to your why, because that comes through in your narration. All right. So again, when you are investing in your author brand, get a book coach, hire an audiobook coach, do it right, and do it right the first time. Okay. Very important. I had a client who went through the audiobook coaching program that I teach, who released his first audiobook. However, he didn't have the guidance that he needed. He thought he was at a good studio that he went to do his narration at. Guess what? His book got rejected by Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books. and he had to go and basically redo everything and spend thousands of dollars trying to fix an audiobook that should have been done right the first time. So when I worked with him on his second book, obviously we made sure that that wasn't going to happen, that his audiobook sounded fantastic, that it met the exact specifications for publication, and that there were no issues for him getting his book published on Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books in 6 weeks, which we did. So again, having guidance and investing in your author brand means investing. Time investment, money investment, time investment. I said time investment, didn't I? Anyway, the whole point is that you need to embrace your business. And since you are the CEO of you, you need to run your business professionally. Okay. Never cut corners. That is the big takeaway that I want you to just hammer home in your brain. Don't cut corners. Do it right the first time. All right. You're listening to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane. You can check out what I do as an audiobook coach and producer at robertlanecoaching.com. There's a lot of information up there. As a matter of fact, they even have clips of authors who've gone through the program, so you can even hear them narrating their own audiobook if you go to the website, all right, robertlanecoaching.com. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Much more to talk to you about. I do want to talk to you about doing a professional audiobook, because that is investing in your author brand. So don't go away. That's coming up next.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like, it was almost instant. Like, I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic on the BBM Global Network, Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back to the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Glad you're joining, and happy that you're here. I am Robert A. Lane. I am an audiobook coach and producer. That's what I do for a living. Love it. Love helping nonfiction authors like yourself create and narrate your own audiobook. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network, by the way. And our topic, of course, is investing in your author brand. I do want to touch on the audiobook world, which is my specialty, of course. As I say, helping nonfiction authors like yourself narrate a fantastic audiobook, even if you've never done a narration. Again, you are the most qualified person to narrate your own audiobook because it's you. No one can replicate you. It's in your unique voice. That's what makes you, you. And that's what attracts your readers, and for an audiobook, your listeners, to you, because you have your own unique style. Your voice is already in your written word. You're just bringing it to life when you do your audiobook. Now, when you do your audiobook, you are actually, it is a process, okay? It is a process. And when you're recording your audiobook, you are actually dividing it up into sections, okay? You record it in pieces, which actually makes the process a lot easier than thinking, oh man, I got to sit and I got to record this audiobook. That's, I got a book that's, I got 40, 50,000 word book. And, we're talking about, 200 pages or whatever of a book that I need to narrate, and I got to do it in one sitting. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You divide it up into sections. So, for example, when I did the audiobook, of course, narrated my book for Lights Action You, everything was done in sections. So opening credits is one audio file. If you have a dedication, introduction, maybe you have a foreword or a prologue, any of those sections are done as a separate audio file. In my book, I had 14 chapters. So there's 14 audio files right there. Then you have closing credits, acknowledgments, any other back matter that you have that you want to talk about. And if you have an afterword or an epilogue, those things are going to all be separate audio files. So when you're recording your audiobook, you're actually, as I say, doing it in sections. And it does make the process a lot easier because you don't feel inundated of trying to, do everything all at once, because you will get fatigued, your voice will get tired, and your energy will drop. And you don't want that to happen when you're doing your audiobook narration. Now, how long does it take? Let me give you some numbers for you to work with, just to give you an idea of what it takes to actually do an audiobook. Now, in the program that I teach, the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program, it is a 6-week program, and I do it and plan it that way because you can get it done in 6 weeks, because since you are doing it in sections, it does make it a lot easier. But you can think of it this way. Okay, let's say your book is 40,000 words. Let's say you have a 40,000 word book, okay? Now, on average, it takes about 9,300 words per hour. So if you're narrating your audiobook, and that's going a little bit on the low end, but let's be conservative with our numbers. So you figure 9,300 words per hour. Now you have a 40,000 word book. So you take that 40,000 and you divide it by 9,300, and that gets you about 4.3 hours. So your audiobook would be roughly 4.3 hours long, and that's straight narration. Now, when you're recording your audiobook, you want to at least double that number, okay? Because you have to take into account, making mistakes. Maybe there's some days that are off days, and you're not getting as much done. But then maybe you have another day, which is a fantastic day, and you're getting more done. So you need to give yourself some extra time for these variables. So double the number. So if it's 4.3, you're looking at 8.6, I would say just round it up to 9 hours of actual recording time that it will take you to do your audiobook. Now, of course, you're thinking, hey, 9 hours and your program's 6 weeks? Wow, that's easy. Well, it is a process, okay? And again, you don't want to sit and try to do it all in one sitting. So you have the time to do it section by section. And as you're recording, by the way, if you were enrolled in my program, you're sending your audio files to me, and that's where my editing expertise comes in, where I do the editing for you, because you have to have audio post-production editing done on your audiobook to make sure that it sounds clean, that there's no anomalous sounds, anything that's in the background, any weird ambience, mouth noises, those types of things, they will be surgically removed and edited out. Okay, and that's what I do as an audio editor, is listen to your audiobook from beginning to end to make sure that it sounds pristine. And again, most importantly, that it meets the exact specifications for publication. So like the author that I worked with, who had that nightmare with his first audiobook that he did at another studio, we don't want you to go through that. We want this to be a very painless and a simple process, no hassle, no overwhelm, just focusing on doing a great narration. So I handle all the editing for you and do the uploading for publication into Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books for you so that you don't have to worry about it. And if there are any issues, I know about it right away. I know how to fix any issues that may come up so that you don't even need to worry about your book not being accepted or being rejected by Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books, because it's not going to happen, right? You will be published, guaranteed 100%. But I want to just explain the process to you because, again, you are investing in your author brand. So your ebook, paperback, and hardcover, you've published your book, you've invested, you've gone through the proper channels, you've gotten the proper support, you've hired a great team of people to put together this great book. Now you're going to do the same thing for your audiobook. Same thing. Again, like I mentioned earlier, you do not cut corners. You do it right, and you do it right the first time, okay? And, hiring an audiobook coach is a great way to do it because then you know that your delivery is perfect. It's great. And we talk about things like believing in your voice, having confidence in your voice, loving and embracing your voice, just like you love and embrace your author brand. You gotta love your voice. You gotta love this sound that's coming out of your mouth, all right? Your head is this resonator that is creating the sound that comes out of your body. And you know what? Love your voice. I hear all the time when I talk to authors, even on our first audiobook consultation call, like, I don't know if I can do it. I hate my voice. It sounds horrible. I play it back. I'm like, it's awful. No, it's not. It's great. Your voice is fine. Okay. Your voice is fine because that's part of your author brand. Remember, you're investing in your author brand, and your author brand encompasses everything about you, even your voice, how you sound, how you talk. Maybe you have a Southern accent. So what? Maybe, you're living in the United States and you were born in the UK. So you have a British accent. So what? That's part of what makes you so unique. It's okay. Or maybe I have a book coach friend who wrote an awesome book, and she's from Mexico and she has, an accent. But you know what? It's endearing to hear her speak, and that's part of what makes her so unique and makes her, makes her her, just like it makes you you, all right? Because that's part of who you are. So you got to love and embrace your voice. All right. Investing in yourself means believing in yourself, loving your voice, believing in your ability to do a great narration. There is no room for I can't. Nope. That's a bad word, right? That's a bad phrase. I can't. Get rid of the apostrophe T, because you can. All right. You can, and you have the talent to do it. All nonfiction authors need to narrate through an audiobook. I'm going to hit that home so many times, and I always will because I believe it wholeheartedly. You have the skills to do it, and you can do a great job. You just need the guidance, right? And that's why you hire an audiobook coach for the guidance. That's why you invest in your author brand, just like you invested in your book, right? You put a great team together, you published a great book. Now you're going to do your audiobook, and you're going to put a great team together to help you create and narrate an awesome audiobook. And I'm telling you, it is great. It's a great feeling, right? How did you feel when your book was finally published? Pretty awesome, right? Same thing with your audiobook. Now, here's another thing to think about in regards to investing in your author brand. Maybe you've published your book a few years ago, or maybe you have a few books that are out. And maybe you're working on your next book, and that's great. But don't let your other books that you've published die on the vine. All right. Maybe you published a book 2, 3, or 4 years ago, or maybe even longer. Bring that book back to life by turning it into an audiobook that you narrate in your own voice. You can completely relaunch your book, right? Bring new eyes and ears to your book that you published a few years ago. I have a client I'm working with right now. Matter of fact, he published a book. When did he publish his book? I think in 2002 is when he originally published it, but now he's turning it into an audiobook, and he's actually updating his manuscript, and he's going to do this whole relaunch to bring his book back to life and have the whole world not only read and know that the book is out there in, digital and physical form, but now he's narrating his own audiobook so that the world can hear him tell his story. And it's a great book, and he's doing such a fantastic job. I'm really proud of this author. So you have what it takes. Invest in yourself. Invest in your author brand. Okay. We're going to talk a little bit more about this and about the audiobook creation process in a little more detail as well. And I just want to summarize a little bit of what we've been discussing here on the podcast. So one more break to take. It's quick. Don't go away. This is the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I am your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. You can find out more about what I do at robertlanecoaching.com. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network. Don't go away.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. We discover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
And we're back. We are here with the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. I'm your host, Robert A. Lane with Robert Lane Coaching. Thank you so much for tuning in. Our topic again today is investing in your author brand, and we've covered over a variety of things. Again, first and foremost, embracing yourself as a professional. If you're a nonfiction author and you have a published book, I consider you a professional. You're a professional writer. You are a creative. Just like a painter or a musician, you're a writer. And that's a great skill. It really is. And, consider yourself a professional. All right. If you're a hobbyist, nothing wrong with that as well. If it brings you joy and you have passion for writing, but you don't look at that as a career, nothing wrong with that. Even if you have a full-time job and writing is a side hustle, but you still love it and you want to make a profession out of it, definitely consider yourself as a professional. So the number one thing about investing in your author brand is embracing your author brand as a professional, okay? You do have what it takes to be a professional. And remember, you are the CEO of you. So you're embracing your brand as a professional, which means you are an entrepreneur. This is your business, and you are the decision maker for your business. So again, the next thing about investing in your author brand is not cutting corners, doing things right the first time, and doing the best that you possibly can do when you're creating and writing your book and when you're narrating your own audiobook. Okay? You don't cut corners, all right? And of course, when you are doing your audiobook, hopefully you do have an audiobook, and if you don't, reach out to me because I would love to speak with you and tell you more about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program that I teach. And I'm just going to go over the basics of it real quickly here. First of all, Let's divide it up into like 3 sections. The first section is setup and preparation. When you enroll in the audiobook coaching program that I teach, I provide you with the professional equipment that you need. Professional microphone, professional headphones. We go over the recording program that you will use to record your audiobook on. So, and getting you all set up for publication in Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books. We take care of that. That's the first phase. Second phase is teaching you the art of narration, how to do a great, compelling, and engaging audiobook narration, the fine art of voiceover. Not only the practical aspects like posture and breathing techniques and mic placement and hydration. Those things are very important. But what's even more important are the intangibles, your emotion, your energy, your purpose, being tapped into your core reason why, because that comes through in your narration. And most importantly, not only being engaging and compelling, but also conversational. Most important is this: being your authentic self. That's what makes you you, and that's what makes you so unique. And that is why I say that all nonfiction authors need to narrate their own audiobook, because it's your story. No one can speak your story the way that you intended to be heard. No one. You can hire a great narrator. I mean, I would have loved to have, James Earl Jones or Morgan Freeman narrate my audiobook, and they'd be fantastic. But you know what? It's still their interpretation. It's not the way that I speak. It's not the way that I deliver my story. And maybe they would accent certain parts of the story that I wouldn't. Maybe they would describe it in a way or emphasize their narration in a way that I wouldn't. Same thing with you as an author. You need to narrate your own audiobook because as a nonfiction author, it's your story. You know it like the back of your hand. Only you can tell your story the way you want it to be told. All right. And, and here's another thing. All right. This is in the cutting corners category. Don't go the AI route. How is AI replicating you as a unique individual? It's not. Even if they get it to sound exactly like you, guess what? It's still not you. And there are subtleties in your voice inflections and your pacing and everything that encompasses who you are is not going to happen in AI. Don't do it. Don't cut corners. Use your own voice, right? You're doing your author brand a disservice. That is not investing in your author brand. What it does is cheapen your author brand. You don't want to do that. You've put too much hard work into creating the nonfiction book that you published in the first place. Don't cheapen it by creating a subpar audiobook. Not the way to go. All right. Anyway, back to the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program. After teaching you how to do a great audiobook, you will be sending your files to me. So as you record, and I'm coaching you, making sure that you're on track, the coaching hat comes off, the audio editing hat goes on, because you're sending your files to me. And I clean them up, I edit them, I make sure they meet the exact specifications for publication. And then I take your final mastered files and I upload them for you for publication into Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books. And when it's all said and done, you get all your mastered audio files. You own your audiobook 100% across the board. I don't take any royalties or any cut from any of that. It's yours. It is yours. Okay. And there you go. And that's how it works. So if you want more information, or if you want just to talk with me about turning your book into an audiobook and maybe getting more information about the Your Book, Your Voice audiobook coaching program, one simple action step, and here's another catchphrase: action takers are success makers. And you have one simple action step, and that's to schedule a call with me. All right. Book a call with me. I would love to talk with you. We're going to put a graphic up here for you to see if you are watching the video portion about booking a call with me, and go for it. All right. For those of you who are hearing the audio portion only, here's the link: bit.ly, bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. bit.ly, bit.ly/audiobook onboarding. Okay. Schedule your call with me. I'd love to speak with you. I want to find out about your book. And you know what? Tell me about your marketing goals, because that also comes into play. All right. So book that call. And also, you can also go to the website at robertlanecoaching.com. It's all there as well. And the other thing that I do want to share with you quickly is the audiobook narration guide. So grab that as well. And the link is bit.ly/narration reference guide. It's my free gift to you. All right. So with that, my friends, thank you for tuning into the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. My assignment to you is this. When you're out and about in the world, smile at a stranger, say hello to them, give them a compliment. It takes 5 or 10 seconds out of your day. But that small gesture of kindness can make the world a difference in somebody's life. So my friends, go out there and be good humans, all right? We'll be back next week here on the Your Book, Your Voice podcast. Again, go to robertlanecoaching.com for more information about the audiobook coaching program that I teach. Appreciate you hanging out. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are streaming live on the Bold Brave TV network, and we'll be talking to you next week, my friends. Have a great, great week. Talk to you soon.
This has been Your Book, Your Voice with host Robert A. Lane. Tune in each week for another powerful and informative episode of Your Book, Your Voice, Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network.